When I wake up, I begin my search for you. Though I found you years ago, when I wasn't searching high, nor was I searching low.
Greetings guys, and welcome back to the Home Slice. Today we are at the semifinals of the chopping tournament, my first chopping tournament, and phase one has come down to these two blades. This is, with a custom handle, my KaBar Becker BK7. It's soaked in oil so that the edge doesn't oxidize and throw off the readings. But this thing has performed so stinking well through these tests. The average after 90 minutes of chopping, the average best reading, taking into account the most beat up part of the edge, the least beat up part of the edge, and the middle of the chop zone was only 265 grams best. I think that's pretty darn good. If you want to see where this thing just took on a funny, oversized stainless steel pot metal cleaver, that test is in a link, I'll put it up here. The KaBar Becker BK7 is going up against the Tops Tahoma Field Knife. This Tops Tahoma Field Knife has been another very admirable performer. It's a little bit thicker of an overall profile, but this thing has chopped and chopped and chopped. It just finished the last test, which was a competition against the Condor Scout Axe, and it finished that test at an average of 326.7 grams best, which is also one of the best numbers, although a little bit less at this point so far than the KaBar Becker BK7. These knives are both 1095 variants, the tops being 1095 proper, but it is 1095 which has undergone a differential heat treatment. The color change isn't caused by different hardnesses, but this finish is put on to exemplify the heat treatment process Tops does, by which they differentially harden and they leave the spine of the knife at a more durable and softer hardness, and the edge of the blade is hardened to a higher hardness to increase edge retention. The KaBar Becker BK7, as most of you will know, is made of a steel commonly known as 1095 CroVan. These two are going to undergo 90 more minutes of chopping, and then we're going to see which one is the sharpest and which one goes on to the final round of the chop tournament. So once again, if you've been following along, these guys just get 10 more strokes on the hanging denim strop, and we'll best test them now, and then we'll get into the chopping. KaBar Becker first. Here we go. $182. Not bad, not bad, not bad. Ooh, 169. Okay. From behind, the Tops swoops into the lead at 169, but not by much because the KaBar Becker was at 182. This is like pretty phenomenal numbers for 1095 just coming off of a strop. This is shaving. The KaBar Becker is definitely shaving, push shaving arm hair. And I assume the Tops will be as well with the number that good. Oh, wow, it's popping. They're flying up in the air. Wow, the Tops does feel a little bit sharper. My, how the tables have turned. This is going to be an exciting test. Let's get into it.
When I wake up, I begin my search for you. Though I found you years ago, when I wasn't searching high, nor was I searching low. Do you wake up? Do you rise and wait for me? It's you that found me years ago.
Alright, you're doing awesome.
With those golden eyes, how could I be so slow?
Where you are already.
I just did that.
Mara, that's epic! Good job, little girl. Did you cut that whole, hold that thing up and show us how big that is? Alright guys, let's see how these knives performed. I wouldn't say that I'm nervous, but I don't know what to expect, to be honest. They both felt exceptionally sharp, still sharp out in the field. Like when I was cutting through coarse, there would be these new little green sprouts that are really flexible, and I would run the blade along the gorse to try to nip those off, and you have to have quite a keen edge to get those off, and they were just popping off of the plants. So very pleased. I think I'll take this moment because I don't know, like my KaBar, this is my KaBar. This is the only knife other than the katana. That's the axes. Some of the axes are mine, but this is the only knife in the running that is actually belongs to me. And I think I'll take this moment to just do a little shout out to KaBar and Ian Becker. Like, I have been so pleased with how this thing has performed. And I don't know, it's funny to say, but regardless of the outcome of which one is a bit sharper right now, this KaBar has done everything I have ever put it through. You can see the black coating is beaten back a good ½ an inch on the edge there. And the design of this thing is phenomenal. I've made some custom handles, and I've actually thinned out a little bit of that flaring because it would give me a hot spot. These are made out of black walnut, is what I made these out of. Stabilized it with beeswax. Anyway, this KaBar Becker BK7, everything I've needed the tip to do, the tip has done without breaking or failing to punch in or penetrate. The grip is excellent. The swing and the handle is perfect for my hand. And this thing has stayed so functionally sharp. I have to say, if I went through this whole tournament from the knives that are kind of just a joke, all the way up to the really, really expensive knives, I don't know that I will be inspired to buy another blade, because from the small stuff to the big stuff, this KaBar has a good amount of swing. I feel like you get too long of a blade and you get a lot of weight, but sometimes you sacrifice a bit of speed. And if you're cutting something thin and flexible, you need that speed. And this 7-inch size for both of these, the KaBar Becker BK7 and the Tahoma Field Knife, that 7-inch or so range tends to be very, very versatile. Now, of course, I would prefer to have an axe for like really big, thick trees, but these two knives have stayed exceptionally sharp. I think this is a great design by Tops. I don't like the handle as much. It's a little bit too square, and it felt a little more slippery, honestly, because the shaping is so on point on the KaBar. But I love the KaBar Becker BK7. If you're thinking about getting like a mid-length fixed blade or a large-ish, but not chopper sort of fixed blade for general purpose, general utility, survival, camping, basic small brush chopping, these kinds of tasks. Even I've used this to make food and it worked just fine. I would really highly recommend the KaBar Becker BK7. You have to spend, it's like a Victorinox in that you have to spend a lot more money to get a lot more knife. This is just a package that is sitting in that sort of middle price range that really does just about everything you could ask it to do. So I've been really proud of my KaBar Becker BK7. Props to you, KaBar. You've done a wonderful job making this knife, heat treating it, everything. Good job, Ethan Becker. Great handle, great design. Anyway, enough of that. The Tahoma Field Knife did wonderful also. It's a little bit thicker, and so I can't tell. Some of the penetration didn't seem quite as good at times. And I noticed a big difference on the hardwoods. On the hardwoods, the KaBar bit in deeper because the grind, I think, was thinner. The grind is thicker on the tops, but on thinner stuff, it was shearing them off more easily. So I'm not sure if that indicates a sharper edge. Anyway, enough of me talking. You guys, most of you will know the drill. We are going to test the best, worst, and the middle of the chop zone, average them out, and declare a winner. We're going to use a best machine to gather that data. But first, we got to clean up the edge, and I'm going to align it with 2 straps. And I'm going to align the edge with 2 strokes on unloaded hanging kangaroo strop. Let's do it. That's looking like KaBar, but let's find out the actual numbers. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, the results are in. Now, I have some explaining I want to do here because the Tops Tahoma has actually been defeated in this round of the tournament by the KaBar Becker BK7. That'll probably come as a surprise to a lot of you guys, but let me just give a bit of interpretation here. I'm not saying that KaBar makes better knives than Tops in general, or that the KaBar Becker BK7 is objectively of a higher quality level than a Tops Tahoma Field Knife. This is just one sharpening method, one test, and to be honest, it's just been 90 minutes of work at a time. These haven't gone chop for chop in exactly the same materials at exactly the same angles for a perfectly consistent test. That said, I'm confident they've undergone a fairly comparable amount of work. Both the tips tested fairly dull because at this point, they have seen a lot of dirt. It's really hard to be cutting to the roots of these plants without planting the tip in the dirt every now and then. The Tahoma has a bit of microchipping out here at the bevel, and I saw it, and my rule is that I test the worst portion of edge, the best portion that I can find, and the middle of the chop zone. And when I tested that tip, I found that the microchipping resulted in a reading of 1,005, over a kilo of force to snap the line. Now that's probably because the best tester was just at a specifically bad spot. And if you average out the other two readings, the readings 250 in the sweet, like the sharpest spot, and 335 from the sweet spot for chopping, the average is 292.5, which would be among the best readings for this tournament. And I assume that if you took 1,000 readings from this whole edge, the number would be much closer to 292, the average of those, than the average of all three with the chip, which is 530, far over 400, which is kind of our threshold for something that needs to be resharpened. The KaBar Becker has also seen a lot of use, and this tip has also gotten a lot of abuse. I will say I have sharpened this a lot of times. This is a used Tops Tahoma, and it's been sharpened quite a bit, and a used KaBar Becker BK7, but the KaBar Becker has been sharpened way more and is somewhere up around 33 thousandths of an inch behind the edge, where the Tops is sitting more like 20. So the KaBar does have a thicker, stouter edge, which is another reason that this test is just one test. That said, the reading at the tip of this KaBar Becker BK7 was only 602, which is 400 grams better, which is really significant. The reading from the sweet spot of both knives was within 3 grams of each other. 338 on the KaBar Becker, 335 on the Tops Tahoma Field Knife. So in the spot that got the most use, the Tops is actually still sharper, which is interesting. I assume the Tops, with their differential heat treat, has reached a higher hardness than the KaBar Becker, and that higher hardness has resulted in less damage to the edge in the spot that does the bulk of the work. But perhaps the slightly higher hardness doesn't cope as well with hitting hard stuff in the dirt. The last reading on the KaBar Becker was from down here in the sharpest portion remaining on the blade, which still has chopped some stuff, but that reading was 180, which is excellent for having undergone, oh my goodness, how much work at this point? 4.5 hours of work into this. There's still a portion of edge testing at 180. That is phenomenal. That brought the KaBar Becker to an overall reading of 373 grams, and the Tops to a reading on average of 530 grams best, making the KaBar Becker BK7 a very clear winner, and it is going to go on to the final, the Super Bowl, the ultimate challenge, the last round of this tournament. Anyway, I'm having so much fun. Here's, if you want to take a look at the bracket so far, it's right here. And we've got one more semi-final round to go, where the Survive Knives GSO 10 in Peter's Heat Treat CPM 3V is going to take on my Husqvarna Carpenter's Axe, which has been the other winner from the previous rounds, to decide what the final matchup will be for the Super Chopper Bowl. On a final note, I will just say that the more time and experience I have with chopping and with these outdoors knives, a lot of these blades in the sort of middle or budget range will be made out of some variant of 1095. And I find myself these days leaning in the direction of 1095 CroVan. Now they've added just a little bit of chrome and vanadium to this steel. It's not actually to form carbides for edge retention, but it's to change the heat treating properties of the steel. And it's in about similar amounts that you would see in really tough steels like 80 CRV2. 80 CRV2 is quite similar to 1095 CroVan, as KaBar calls it. It's just a slightly lower amount of carbon. And what those do in changing the heat treat properties and also changing the way the carbon gets distributed is they bring the steel overall to a higher ductility or toughness rating. I've been really enjoying that for sharpening purposes, and I think that in this test with a really, really long haul of totally like ordinary chopping tasks, you begin over the long haul to see that toughness paying off. So well done, KaBar. I'm really excited that my knife is making it to the final round. I'm a little bit nervous that it might be pitted up against some 3V, and that will be a really intense test, but we shall see what the winner of the next test is. Well, for those of you who like to see a paper test, this is tops. Very smooth through there. Wanting to slip around at the tip a little bit, but honestly, oh, there's that rolled portion of edge. Yeah, quite difficult to cut out there at the tip. It's definitely some tip damage. KaBar Becker, very smooth. Oh, tore there. Still push cutting at the base of the blade. I wonder if that's the case with the tops. Oh yeah. Oh wow. Tops still very keen at the base of the blade. That's really impressive because I did hammer those bases, and the tip of the KaBar is a little bit better than the tip of the tops. Interesting, look at that. Anyway, if you want to see the last round where I pitted a Condor tactical katana against a Husqvarna carpenter's axe made out of Swedish steel, that's here. For all the rest of you, I'll say peace out from the home slice. I hope you guys have a great day. Bye.